Okay guys, welcome back to another lesson. This is lesson 2 on how to build a gazebo, and we're going to get diving straight in and getting on with the lesson. This is more basic and intermediate sort of level. I will be explaining all the commands and the basics as I'm going through as well. You may notice actually my voice, the audio sounds much better than my last video. So if you could, if you didn't mind listening to me sound like I was underwater in a tin can in the last video, I appreciate you watching that through. So hopefully moving forward, the audio quality is going to be better. So thank you for your feedback from people that attend my lessons every Monday night. That is 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. UTC, which is 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. So feel free to join my Discord and drop me a message if you want any more information. I have free assets. I have all sorts of crazy, awesome stuff in my Discord, all about how to learn Blender, what to do, where to begin, and so on and so on. So welcome back, and here we are going to begin. So after launching a full screen, a new scene in Blender, we're going to press A to select all, X to delete. So we want to bring in an image of a plane. So we're going to press Shift A, image reference, and we're going to bring in this gazebo. Now this gazebo, as you can see, is a little more, it's a bit more complex than the last asset we have made, but don't worry, a lot of this is going to be mirrored, and I will probably most likely be using the mirror and a lot of the functions, modifiers in Blender to make this workflow nice, really nice. So it looks like a lot of work, but bear with me, you'll get the hang of it, and hopefully you will create something as amazing as what we can do together. So first things first, I'm going to press N on my keyboard to bring up my little transform panel up here. We want to reset the rotation, so you can click, left click, and drag down over these three, X, Y, and Z. You can just press 0 on the numpad and click enter. Right, so now we have zeroed and squared that up. We can then just press R to rotate. We want to rotate on the Y axis and press 90, and then press R again on the X axis and press 90. So that looks good to me. I'm actually going to press R on the Z axis and press 90, because what I want to do is I want to press G and Y, push that behind a bit. We're going to keep the Y axis here, front to back. It's always good when exporting or FBXs. I've noticed a lot of models and assets, they keep the front of the assets either on the -Y or on the Y. That's just from my personal preferences from doing avatars and armatures and other stuff that I could also cover in later lessons. So I'll press GZ on this image and bring it up, and then I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, scroll wheel to zoom out, shift to pan around, S to scale, let's scale that up a little bit, let's press 2. GZ, bring that up, there you go. Right, so we have a nice little gazebo here. I think we are ready. So first things first, I'm going to press Shift A. We're going to bring in a mesh. Let's bring in a cylinder. So this time, bringing in a cylinder, if we look down here in the bottom left hand side, add cylinder, we're going to click on the drop down, and we have some things here we can modify the cylinder already. So the vertices, I'm going to switch down to 6 and then press enter on the keyboard. As you can see, it is now has 6 vertices up top. So we're going to press tab into edit mode, 3 for face select, as you can see up here, the icon. We're going to select this face, and we're just going to press P to separate, and then click selection. What that has now done, as you can see up here in the scene collection, we go back into press tab, back to object mode, and as you can see, if we select this top face we have just separated, we can press G, and it has its own, it's counting as its own object. We want to then just delete this bottom bit. So we press X to delete, like so. And this we are going to bring down. We're just going to press G, Z, and we're just going to bring that down to the center. It would be -1. Mathematically, that looks correct. We're going to just press Control A to reset the transforms on this. What that would then do, if you look at this origin point, the little orange dot is down here in Narnia at the moment. So press Control A and then reset transforms. That will then reset the transforms, and as you can see over here, if I press Control Z, you can see, look, it's set to -1 because we did bring the whole object down. -1, but we want to now put that to 0. Instead of clicking on here and pressing 0, that will push it up. When I press Control Z, we are resetting this, so we want to reset it on the 0, and this is very important for when we're using modifiers later on. So, leaving it like so, I actually want to rotate this now on a 30-degree angle, so RZ 30. So I'm going to be designing this looking at the front of this gazebo. Don't worry about the shape and the sizes, it can all be adjusted by hand, by eye later on, but just for now, for the demonstration of the video, let's just scale this up in object mode. I'm going to press 5. There you go, that should be big enough. So, we want to add a bit of thickness onto this, but before we do, I'm going to go back into edit mode and click on face select number 3 and click this face. So, as you can see, this is currently an n-gon. If it's 5 sides, if it's 4 sides or more, 4 sides is a quad. If it's 5 or more, it is an n-gon. So currently we have 6. So if it's 5 and higher, it is classed as an n-gon. What that does is, say for example you export as an FBX, you will notice tearing and geometry in the mesh when you try and work on it. Say for example in Substance Painter, when you bake the mesh maps. I'll explain that more later on. So let's bring in the select number 1 for vertex, select this vertex, and press J. Now that would join them together, and now we have a quad that side. We have 4 vertices and 4 edges, and then the same this side. Now we're going to press Tab to go into object mode, and we're going to go over to our modifiers. We are going to add some depth to this, so we're going to click Add Modifier, and we're going to generate a solidify. So this is a solidifier. What that does is it creates a thickness on whatever object you have selected. So there is different properties and settings you can use over here. I'm going to keep the offset to -1, as you can see, depending on which way you want to place it. Let's add a bit of thickness, 0.04. I think that looks good enough for me for now. We could always leave it, the solidifier there. We don't have to apply it, but I think I'm going to apply it. If you ever need to redo it again, not a problem. You can always select the object again and then use the solidify. Modes, different modes depending on the outcome and how the complexity of the shape. Sometimes hitting complex fix most of your angles if it's a very complex shape. But for now, let's just leave that simple. We will even the thickness, even though, again, this shape's quite simple, so even thickness won't do anything. And fill rim, as you can see, that fills the sides in or off, on or off. This is very good if you're using planes either side for making leaves for trees. This is also a very, very good idea to do that as well, so you can reduce the poly count. Right, so let's keep the fill on for now, and we're gonna apply this modifier by clicking the drop down and click apply. There we go. Now if we press tab to edit mode, as you can see, it's created depth onto the object, so that is really nice at the moment. Right, this is going to be the main floor. Next, we are going to press select, face select, and select both of these faces and press I. So what this does is it insets the faces. And as you can see, we can bring the faces in to make a pattern like so. I'm going to press 0.05 on the numpad, and I'm going to bring it in as far as this. You can do individual down here on the left hand corner, so you can actually, where it meets halfway, you can do it every quad by quad, which is very good for Windows, for example. But for now, we're going to leave it at interpolate and leave that unticked for individual. So, after we've done that, we're going to make some posts going all the way around the gazebo. So first things first, we are going to come down here, press number 1 in in edit mode, select this vertex and press Shift S, and we're going to bring cursor to selected. So I've selected this vertex, and now I've brought the 3D cursor to this vertex. And we'll go back into object mode, just deselect the object and press Shift A and bring in a cube. And we'll use cubes as posts. As you can see, as I brought this cube in, it's gone to the 3D cursor exactly where I've wanted it. So I'm going to press S to scale. I'm going to scale that down. Let's scale that down to say 0.1. And then I'm going to press S to scale on the Z axis. And let's scale that up to about, let's say, 20 for now. And then I'm going to press GZ or GZ if you're in the UK. Z and Z. I'm going to bring that up so it's just above, because what we're going to do is we're going to snap it to the surface. So just like the previous lesson, we're going to select this in edit mode. Tab to edit mode. Click on face select, hold shift, and just double click on the bottom of the face. As you can see, it's white and it's now selected. We're going to bring that down and snap it to the floor. Best way to do that is we click up here to snapping tool, and we're going to use face. So we want to snap this to the face. So we're just going to hit face, and we're also going to hit active because we've currently got it active and we want the active to connect to the face. So there we go, active to face, and that's all we need to do up there. So you press G and Z, hold control, so it activates your snapping tool when you hold control, and it snapped straight back down like so. I want to see the edges on the other object. Best way to do this is up here. We'll click on the little drop down menu on your viewport overlays and select geometry wireframe, so you can actually see all the wireframe in your whole project. We're going to select this pole and press RZ, and we're going to rotate it on the 30 degrees. We're going to rotate it another 30 degrees on the Z axis. So it's RZ and 30. So that was actually, so I'm going to press Control Z, Control Z. We're going to rotate that on the Z axis 60 degrees. And like so, I want to keep the edge parallel to the point here on the corner of the gazebo floor. And I'm going to keep that all the same all the way around. So we've got our one post there. What we could do is we can now duplicate this and put it on each corner if we wanted to. But what I would prefer to do is mirror. We can mirror this, and we could mirror it on the Y and X axes. So what we could do is we press Control A in object mode. As you can see, the origin point is currently in the center of this post. So Control A, reset all transforms, that sets it to the center. That's if I press N over here, you can see everything's reset. Scales all to 1, rotation 0, location 0. We go over here to, I'm just going to remove that, press N. Go over to our modifiers, add a modifier, generate mirror. And it's going to generate a mirror over here, because it's by default on X. So here's the X over here, this is the axis. So from the origin point, X to X, here it is. And if I click Y, now it also mirrors over here on the Y, like so. And this does actually speed up the process 9 times out of 10 when doing this. Of course, this is a hexagon shape, and we also want it to go over here on the X over here. Fortunately, we're going to apply this mirror now, and because this is all one object, I'm going to go into edit mode, press face select, press L with my cursor hovering over the object, and then I'm going to press G just to move it roughly there. This is just a free move. With face select selected, hold shift, double click the bottom, and then hold G and hold my control. As you can see, it's snapping to the surface. This time we just want to change this and change it and click vertex. So now I'm going to hold G, hold control, and snap it to the vertex which was joining up to all those edges there. Now we want to rotate this rotate this 30 degrees, and as you can see now it's in a line to the corner of the gazebo floor. Let's now, I press 3 for face select, by the way, but you don't have to do that. We're just going to press P and select and separate selection. So it's now separated to the others, and I've just realized I didn't duplicate this when I should have duplicated it when it was over here. So let me just go back. So when I've selected this, face select, shift D, and then move it, not just grab and move, sorry. We just wanted to duplicate it, and that is actually something I forget to do sometimes, is duplicating it and just grabbing and moving something, and then realize later on, oh, it's not there anymore. But don't worry, if you have mirrored an object, you can always then reverse mirror and bring it back by separating your object. So I'll just press G and align that to there like so. Now I'm press P to separate selection, and then go back into object mode, select it again, and then go back into edit mode. This also make sure is you're not selecting anything else. We're going to press A to select all, and then 3 for face select. We're going to rotate on the Z axis 30 degrees. There you go, just like so. And what we can do now, because our origin point is still in the middle, with this one, we could literally add the mirror modifier, and because it's on the X, it will literally mirror it right on the other side, like so. So there you go, we have all our posts in place using the mirror modifier and our snapping tool to snap onto the vertices. Now next we want to, there's only 2 railing fences as I can see. So next we're going to select our platform. We're going to press number 2 for edge select, and we're going to go into edit mode. We're going to select number 2 for edge select, and then we're going to press shift D after we've selected this edge, right click to cancel, and then we can press P to selection separate, and then up here in your scene selection we're going to press we'll go back to object mode, and then click on our cylinder 002, which is what it is called currently. As you can see, I've just grabbed it. This is what it looks like. I'm going to press Control A, going to reset the transforms, and then I'm going to press right click on it, and then convert to curve. So up here, as you can see, it's now turned into the icon of a curve. So let's rename this and call it curve fence, and press enter. So we're going to bring some poles, and we're going to put the poles on this curve using a couple of modifiers. So I'm going to press tab for back to object mode, and we're going to deselect everything and press shift A, bring in a new mesh. We're going to bring in a cylinder. We're going to change the cylinder down to 6 and press enter, or sometimes it will copy what your previous settings are. So I'm going to keep it like that, and I'm also going to place the origin point to the bottom of the cylinder. So again, shift S, bringing your 3D cursor to the bottom, control A, right click, set origin to 3D cursor, Then up here, press letter N. Open up your transform, so let's reset your location all to 0. Press enter. That'll now go to the center. We're going to press scale shift Z. So what that does, it eliminates the Z axis, and you can only now scale it along the X and Y. And I'm going to say scale it to 0.1. That looks about right to me. It's roughly 2 meters tall, I believe. We can change it if we need to in a moment. So once we've scaled it and placed it in the middle, as you can see, the scaling is different. Now we're going to reset the scale. We don't have to do the location or rotation, so we can just press Ctrl A, apply scale. So as you can see, it's applied the reset on the scale, now set to 1. Or what I do is I just normally do all transforms. If I know I'm not going to edit it after rotating it, I'll get to that branch in a later lesson. So now we're going to go to add modifier. We're going to generate an array, and we're going to array this, I'd say about 8 times. I'm going to put 8 in the numpad. We'll leave the X factor to 1 at the moment, and we're going to click add modifier again. So we've just done 8 account for an array, and what that does, that duplicates your poles in the direction of whatever X, Y or Z axes you've got there. So as you can see, we can extend and change that. But we're going to leave that for now, and we're going to add a deform curve. So we're going to add a curve in. There's this dropping eyedropper, so we're going to click on that, and then click on curve fence. So here we go. So now it's set on your curve. Now if your object is gone super stretchy, or it has gone offset and it doesn't align up to your curve that you've selected, that would be one or two things. First thing, make sure your object is aligned and reset on your center point of the world on 0, 0. Make sure it is on 0, 0 and reset your scaling. This makes a huge difference, and your origin point is set on the wherever you want to place it using the 3D cursor. Right click and set origin to 3D cursor. It's something that I use a lot in modeling. And make sure your curve as well, your curve here should also be set to 0, 0, 0 and scale of 1. So if these are all set to 0, 0, 0 and a scale of 1, and they've all been reset, and it's still doing this mistake, sometimes it can be a bug in Blender. Just save what you've done, close it, cancel the modifiers, save it, close Blender, reopen Blender, and add in the modifiers again. Just make sure you have reset transforms, and it should look like this. And it sits nicely on the curve. So now we can go back to our little cylinder poles here, and we can actually either stretch them along the X axes like so. So I'm going to type 3 in there, and you can actually press G and X. So as you can see, you see the origin point is actually moving along the X axis from where it originally sits in the center of your screen. Now the modifier is making this slide along the edge because it's attached to the curve, therefore it is behaving this way. So I'm just going to go, I think 0.5. That would center it up nicely and fairly accurate. Slightly, maybe 3.1. Not quite. There you go, something like that. That looks more accurate, I think. Just eyeballing that. I think that looks good for now. And I'm going to leave these modifiers on because I may need to edit these later. You can click the drop down arrow just to collapse them for now. We could also add another modifier, and we can go to generate a mirror. So what that would do is copy it on the other side. However, because we've just moved it, you can see it's now moved from the center. If I now press Ctrl A and reset all transforms, you can see, because we're not going to move it again and we like the way it is, it will reset the transform to the center, making it exactly symmetrical on the other side. Now we can press the Y axis and have the same on the other side, but for now we're going to do those fences slightly different actually. So I'm just going to do these front two like so, and I'm just going to leave them like that for now. So going back to the floor of the gazebo, I'm going to go and select the bottom, press number 2 for edge select, grab the bottom, and we are going to actually, instead of duplicating another one, what we're going to do is we're going to grab the curve fence, and of course if we move that above, or if we start moving this around, you can see because it's attached to the modifier, it is going to change our railings, it's going to change our poles. So what we're going to do is we will do, Shift D and duplicate another edge and bring that up on the Z axis. I'm going to hold Control and I'm going to snap it to the top vertex. So again, if you haven't got your snapping tool up here on active or vertex, or you can have active or face, you can hold G and Z to bring up the edge, and as you can see, you can either snap it onto the face. As you can see, it snaps to any face you hover over, or if you want to be more accurate, I like to mostly use vertex, so G, Z, hold Control, and then you'll see a little square pop up. That little square I think is fairly new actually. I've not seen that in the earlier versions, so I think that is something new I've also noticed in Blender. So I've put it roughly there, and yeah, so we're going to actually turn this curve into a mesh. But before we're going to turn this mesh into a curve. So to do that, like we did before, we're just going to right click. I'm going to press 2 for edge select. I don't think it matters. Yeah, it does matter. You need it on 2 for edge select. Right click. No. Go to object mode and select it. But of course it is still attached to our platform, so we are going to separate this. So P to separate, selection, tab to object mode, reselect the mesh that we've just separated, right click in object mode, convert to curve. We then want to go over down here to the data properties, which is our curve data properties. I'm going to click on geometry, and then I'm going to go down to depth and increase this. I'm going to increase this to per se 0.015. And as you can see, it has starting to create some sort of a hand railing. I'm going to reduce the resolution. When it's on 0, as you can see, it's cubed. Increase it to 1, it's more of a 5-sided hexagon. Or if we increase to 2, now it is, I believe, 8-sided. So I'm going to go to 1, and I'm going to increase this depth to about 2, just so it's covering up. There you go, that's perfect, that size. So I do like to scale a lot of the things because sometimes they just fit nicely together. I'd say that's quite nice in terms of putting things together. So that looks pretty good to me. Yeah, that's good. I like that. And obviously now let's make it the same over there. I'm going to press Ctrl A, reset transforms. That is a habit of mine, by the way, of constantly resetting all transforms. Ctrl and A. I do that a lot, sometimes without even thinking. Sometimes it's a bad time to do that if you need to rotate something and then edit your object on the local axes. Don't forget that will reset these as well, so that is something to keep in mind. So let's go to our add modifier and generate a mirror, and by default it's on the x-axis. Our origin point's in the center, so that will mirror that across. In this case, I think I'm just going to leave it there. I'll only apply the modifiers only if I like it and it's going to stay there and I need to carry on editing that object. But for now, I'm going to keep that like that, and I'm just checking the ends here and make sure the ends are turned off because I don't want them on just for the poly count. So yes, here we have so far. It's looking not too bad at the moment. I quite like the look of that. Yes, I do quite like the look of that. Now, let's do the other side. Let's do the other fences. Now, looking at the image, what we got here, we've got slats going across and we have a couple going down. Now, for the purpose of this video, we could do the slats going across using cubes and make it more 3D realistic, or we could use a material with the grain going the correct way on the fences at the back. So for this, what I'm going to suggest is let's add in some geometry and do the slats going up, which is a different which we will use by using the array modifier. So this is slightly different, and we could use this, and what we're going to do instead of using a mirror, we will use a mirror, but then we're going to need to duplicate our slats and stick it to the center here. So without further ado, we're going to just dive straight in and get on with building these slats. Just trying to think of the best way to do it. There is multiple ways of doing it. I'm going to put our 3D cursor on this edge. I'm going to press tab. I'm going to press shift A. Let's bring in a mesh. Let's bring in a cube. I'm going to scale that down. Let's scale that down to... Okay, so actually, we're going to do that on here, and I'll tell you why. Because I can rotate that on 30-degree angle and work in a 30-degree angle, but sometimes it's easier just to work on the Y and X axes. So I'm just gonna delete this cube and bring in another one over here, like so. I'm going to press scale that down. I'm going to scale it down to 0.1. Bring that up. I'm going to just press scale Z. I'm going to make that a little bit, I'll say 1.5, that'll do. And then scale it again on the x-axis and say roughly, what's that, 23? Is that 23? Just so we go inside, so we're clipping out the way. Scale, oops, scale X that's supposed to be. 1.02, just so it's inside and out the way, so it looks like the fence is going inside the poles, which is absolutely perfect. Okay, so another little trick and a tip to know: when we're editing an object and there's other objects in the way, you can press / on your keyboard. As long as you're in object mode and you've main selected the object you want to edit, when you press / it isolates all your objects around, and then you can solely concentrate working on this one object. So I'm going to press tab into edit mode, and I'm going to select both of these sides, and then press X to delete these faces, because we do not want those faces appearing. So I'm going to press tab, and then I'm going to press / to bring everything back. So again, back into object mode, press / and that just brings everything back again. Right, and we will snap. So I'm going to select it all, main select the bottom, and just hold G and Z and snap it to a top vertex, which we know is the ground, like so. Okay. So what we could do, we could duplicate this and press Z, and as you can see, we could snap it to each and snap it on top of each other and build a fence. You could UV unwrap each object and stick on a texture and simulate a nice fence like so in the image. But in this case, I'm going to show you something different that we could do. We're going to select the top face, and I'm going to press E to extrude. That automatically goes on the Z-axis, by the way, when you press E to extrude. We're going to hold Control when we've extrude, and we're going to select a vertex over here. I'm going to just move over here, so we've still got that selected. So it doesn't matter where you are in the scene, we have got the item still selected. And to make sure it's in line, the height of this handrail. Actually, I don't want it in height of this handrail. I'm going to put it in height or underneath the handrail, because we're going to add on another handrail on top. So GZ, and I'm going to snap it. It's like through the mesh, and it's snapping to the bottom of that rail. So now I know that is the right height. We're going to go back to edge select. I'm going to hold Shift Alt and double click this edge loop, and then do the same over here, holding Shift, because we removed the faces. Yeah, that's not going to go all the way around. So we just basically need to click these two edges. Oops, not the bottom one. Just these two edges, and press Control X to dissolve. There you go. Now we have one big cube. As you can see, we've got a big cube. That's going to simulate our fence. What we could do, it looks a little bit thick for a fence. I mean, you can change things as you go along, not a problem. But just demonstration of the video, I'm just going to continue on using this as a demonstration. So, these fences here, we've still got the mirror turned on. I am going to press Y, because we are going to put this on the Y-axis and bring that around, like so. And then we will duplicate one of these, snap it to the center, and rotate it straight. So we're going to grab this wall as it's a separate object. We are going to isolate it again by pressing /. I want to go into edit mode and then select these side faces and just delete them. I don't want these side faces here. Press 1 for vertex select. This is another thing I'm going to point out. Sometimes when you delete faces and you've deleted previous edge loops, just bear in mind random vertices may still appear on your object. Selecting them and dissolving them will definitely help you either editing that object, and it helps in the topology, so you don't have random n-gons on your object when you're trying to UV unwrap them. Okay, so I'm actually going to select this whole object, and we're going to select face select and select the bottom of the object. We're going to press Shift S. Actually, we're just going to press select the bottom and press Shift S, because we want to put the origin point down at the bottom. So here we are. We've put the that at the bottom. So we're going to set origin to 3D cursor. That's right click, by the way. Sorry. Right click, set origin to 3D cursor. And that now we are going to duplicate that. And then what we're going to do is up here on our snapping tool, we're going to snap it to the center of this edge. So let's snap it to the edge center. So this tool is used now and again. So we can press G and hold Control. That will now snap to the edge of that center. We're then going to rotate on the z-axis and rotate that, say, about 60 degrees, which is perfect. As you can see, that is fitting in there very nicely. Keeping everything symmetrical, everything the same size, things that are mirrored and duplicated, it helps a lot. So with this selected, we can hold Control A, reset transforms. It's gone back to the center there. Go over to our modifier, generate mirror, and it's on the x-axis. So there you go. We've now created another fence the other side. Oops, gone inside the image here. So now we're going to click on this railing. I'm going to go tab into edit mode. It's not converted to a mesh yet, it's still a curve. So let's apply this mirror and turn it into a mesh. So we'll go over to the mirror, we're going to apply the mirror, and what does that say? Cannot apply constructive modifiers on curves. That is correct, you cannot. So before we apply the mirror, we have to right click and convert to mesh. What that will do, it will automatically apply the mirror when we do that, like so. So that kills two birds with one stone. So let's go to edit mode and select number 2 or number 3 and press hover, put your cursor over the banister and press L. That will then select this top banister, and we want to shift D to duplicate it. Let's just move it, I don't know, somewhere here for now. And again, we want to put the 3D cursor underneath, go into object mode. Actually, reselect this again, not A to select all, but hover over and press L. If you do press A, you'll select all of them, but we want to separate this. So again, press L using your cursor to hover over the top. Press P to separate your selection. So tab, and then retab, and then tab, object mode, and then select your object, and then tab again, go back into edit mode. Face select, make sure your 3D cursor is on the bottom. Press tab again, Control A, reset transforms. Actually, you didn't need to reset transforms, but again, I do that a lot by habit. Set origin, so we need to set the origin to 3D cursor. And then we want to snap it, we've still got the center edge there, which is great. But now, we want to snap it to the center between these two edges. Okay, so to do that, there's again a couple of ways of doing that. We can just select the object for now, go into edit mode, press number 2 and just stick in a random edge loop up the top. What that does is it creates an edge loop going around. If you've seen my lesson 1, I'll talk a bit more about edge loops through that one. So we're going to go back over to this object, and now we're going to press G and snap it. Just move our cursor up and down the edge until randomly it will snap roughly in the middle there, and then RZ, rotate it 60 degrees. Oh no, sorry, rotate RZ 30 degrees. No, it isn't. What degrees is it? Minus 60. Yeah, minus 60 or 120. Okay, do press 120 or minus 60. And that would rotate and fit nicely in there. So we have a lovely banister going all the way around with 3 panels of a fence and poles as a different type of fence. So I'm going to select these and we're now going to join them together. Now I like the way that's mirrored, so I'm going to apply that. I'm going to select the single one and then hold shift, select the other 2 panels. I'm going to right click and then join, and then that is now joined all together. Bearing in mind, I'm just going to press /, going to edit mode, and I want to remove this edge loop I just created so that we don't have any n-gons. Okay, it doesn't matter a bit about the overlapping there, that's not a problem at all. I'll go back into object mode and press / again to bring my other objects back. Same again, I'm going to select this banister, hold shift, select the other ones, and then press right click and join, or you can just press Control J, which then joins them all together. When joining things together, if you press N, okay, the location, rotation, scale, that looks all good, so that's good. Just keep an eye on where the origin point is, and also keep an eye on if you've applied your modifiers. Sometimes it can affect your modifiers when you're joining objects to each other. So this is looking good so far. We're going to make a little bench next, and we're going to do the roof. So the good thing about the roof is we're going to duplicate the bottom of the gazebo. So with this selected now, we're going to press Shift D, this is in object mode, Shift D, and we're going to hold, press Z, and we're going to bring that up. So as you can see, I want to switch our snapping tool back to vertex. So as the origin point is on the top, if I now try and snap it to the top here, as you can see, that's not quite how I wanted to snap it. So what we can do is go into edit mode, select all, go number 1 for selection. I'm going to select this vertex and press GZ, hold control, and because this is the active one, it will align itself on the GZ, on the GZ, and snap to that vertex from the top of the pole. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to get your head around because it's an active, you select a tool and it's an active, and you're selecting that in line with something else you want to snap to, and then obviously it's staying on the Z-axis, so it's bringing everything down together if you have everything selected. As you can see, the origin point is floating in the middle there. We will going to reset that, so Control A, reset all transforms, and now it's gone back to the center. Now, as you can see, it's got a nice little roof on top. I'm just trying to think of a way how to do this. There's always different ways on how you can create nice patterns around the edges. So what I'm going to think about doing is, don't know if to extrude from this object or add in a new object so we could make the roof. Right, actually I've got an idea. After selecting this roof, we're going to go into edge select. I'm going to select this middle bit here, and actually I'm going to press number 3 for face select, and I'm going to select these 2 faces. Now I'm going to extrude these up, not too high up, I'd say 0.5, and then I'll press S to scale. Now as you can see, we can scale that very nicely. I'm going to scale that to 0.5 and see how that looks. Okay, that's not too bad. I'm going to press GZ and I'm going to bring that up a little bit more, maybe 0.25. So you can adjust that to the way you like it. So that looks fairly nice to me. Okay. I've noticed it's got a bit of a lip over the top as the roof is going down. That's not a problem. What we could do with this is we can select, so slightly a few new tools now. Let's select, hold shift, and then select all these faces that we have just edited, and we're going to press P to separate. So we're going to separate this roof piece. What we're going to do is we're going to scale this, but we don't want it to scale on the Z axis. So we're going to, after selecting all in edit mode, I'm going to press scale, shift Z, and then as you can see, it will scale outwards either to the end of the point of the gazebo, which the best way to do that, if you want to line it up, there's a little trick to it, but it's a little bit complex. But for now, let's scale it up and over the lip. So I'm going to scale it to 1.2. I think that's yeah, that'll be alright for now, I think. I'm going to actually select this and bring that up a little bit more to 0.25. Yeah, there you go. So I think it was like 1.5 in total, or something like that. I like to keep it equal. So when you're going along, I always like to remove the topology that's not going to be seen. So it's very good for keeping it nice and low. So for example, going back to this object, I'm going to edit mode. I'm going to hold Shift and Alt, select that edge in that face select mode, and that should now select all the edges, all the faces going around. I'm currently in fly mode, by the way. You hold Shift and the tilde key next to number 1 on your keyboard, and that puts you in fly mode, and you use WASD like your keys to fly around like you do in Unity and other engine programs. Comes in handy. When you've selected those, I'm going to delete them. So press X and delete. And then we are going to select this edge and this edge. Oh no, we're going to join this together. So we're going to join this back together since we separated it earlier. So hold Shift, right click, join. Now go back into edit mode. I'm going to number 2, edge select this edge select this edge, and press F. Now I pressed F and not J because we don't want to join them together. We want to press F for fill. What that does is it will fill between the gaps. As you can see, it automatically will fill in the edges on the other sides. So this is perfect for what we need to do. I do want a bit of a lip actually from the roof. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z. I'm actually going to bring this roof up a little bit. So I'm going to press L on this roof because it's not attached to anything else. So I'm going to press GZ and I'm going to bring it up to about 0.25. Is that a bit too much? No, I think that might be okay actually. No, that looks about right. I'm going to select this edge loop going all the way around the bottom of the roof, and I'm going to press E to extrude, and then it should be on the Z axis. If it's not, just press the Z and let's snap it to the top of that piece up here, like where my cursor is. From here, again, we'll just do the same what we just done a second ago. So select this edge and then select this edge and press F. Then what we can do is we can select this edge, press F again, and then you can press F again. This is a little trick actually I've learned recently. It's very handy. It knows what you want to do. If you press F when you're selecting on an edge and it's not working, just make sure in vertex mode, number 1, you don't have like n-gons, like random vertices like that, for example, have them randomly on your edges. If they do, just click on them and dissolve them by pressing Ctrl X. So, okay, that's not looking too shabby. It's not looking too bad. A nice little gazebo here. And now what we want to do is inside this gazebo, we want to do a bench. So, what I'm going to do is, for now, I'm going to select the top of the roof and I'm going to press H to hide. So you can hide objects. Making roofs, making certain parts of your asset separate helps in many ways. Right, okay, let's just put that roof back on. I was going to do the benches inside and I thought, hang on, I'll actually go over that with more detail in the future lesson. Maybe in the next lesson actually. I've got some ideas on how to edit that bench, put some UV maps and put some textures on. So with that in mind, we're going to do the little V shapes on the top ends of these poles here. And we've kind of already done it, as you can see on the bottom of these handrails. Let's manipulate these handrails and bring those up. So what I'm going to do is, because they're all one object, I'm going to select it, press Tab, and I'm going to press A to select, and press Shift D, and I'm going to press Z to extrude up. Now, just to bear in mind, there are multiple ways of doing this. For now, I'm going to go to 1.5. Is that enough? Yeah, I like that. 1.5, that looks good to me. So, there are multiple ways of doing this. This is a nice, quick, easy way, considering we've already got the angles correct on it. So sometimes when you have the angles correct, even if it's a little bit more work, you know it's going to be accurate. Sometimes that may not make sense, but it might make sense to you later on. Or depends on how you grasp the concept of your models when building. So we're going to add edge loops. So I'm going to press number 2 for edge loops. I'm going to press, just deselect everything, press Control R. Now I'm going to scroll wheel up to about, I don't know, let's say 5. If you look in the top left corner up here, you can actually see how many edge loops you are doing. I should go down to about, let's go 3 for now and do an experiment first before we do all the others. So I've gone on to 3. Now I'm going to show you how to separate the mesh without separating it as per object. For example, I'm going to press number 2, I'm going to just deselect everything else and hold Shift Alt and just select this one edge loop. Now I'm going to press V on my keyboard. What that does, it separates the mesh. So without actually creating a new object. After pressing V, because it's attached, the selection is still attached to this side, I'm just going to press H to hide. No, actually, I'm just going to select, go face select, select this and press H to hide. Go back to number 2, edge select this. I'm going to press GZ. As you can see, if I press GZ, that's just going nicely straight up into the roof like so. And I quite like that actually. That's not a bad idea to make something like that. So let's get it more accurate. So going back to earlier, we want to edge select our active. So this is our active, as it's white, the yellow or orange is our other selection. Up here, we want to make sure our active is set, and we want to connect it to face this time. So when I press G and Z and I hold Control, you see the bottom of that active is now going to go on the face. So with that bearing in mind, I'm going to do the same on this pole as well. So I'm going to press number 2 for edge select, press Control R, scroll wheel up to 3, left click, right click to confirm. I'm going to hide these again, so Shift Alt to select and face select, press H to hide. Number 2, edge select, Shift Alt, hold the bottom one, Shift double click, and then GZ, hold Control, snap to that. Okay, so that's not looking too bad. We want to now press Alt H, so it's going to bring back our mesh. I didn't press V this time to unlink that because I realized, well, actually we can just delete these, so that won't make any difference at all. Sometimes you might want to press V to unlink the attach and detach it. Say for example, if you press V to detach, this is a good idea when you can also select all and press M to merge the vertices together, which I did cover in my first lesson. So feel free and look for merging verts together so you can connect meshes together as well. Now I did notice a little bit, it's okay for now, but you can adjust these and bring them down a bit if you feel like they're a bit too high up. So I'm going to delete this one. I'm just going to go around. We could mirror this, by the way. We could absolutely mirror this one to that side, and then we can do one of these and then mirror it 4 ways, which is definitely worth doing for the workflow. We are coming close to the end of this lesson, so I'm just going to speed along and do the rest of these like so. So I'm selecting these. Oops. GZ, hold control, snap, still edge select, GZ, snap, and I want to press number 3 for face select, press L, L, I'm going to right click and go to separate selection, or you can press P and then separate. So we have our separate object here. I'm going to press Control A to reset these transforms. I'm going to select back onto these. I want to create these also as separate objects, and then press Control A to reset transforms. The rest of these can be deleted, so not the handrails on the bottom, we want to keep those, but the ones on the top, you just press L on those, X, and delete. Because now on these, what we can do is go to Generate, Mirror, to mirror on the axes, it's going to mirror on the other side. And this one here, when we click on the Add Modifier, Generate Mirror, it's going to automatically do it on the X, and then if we click Y, it will now generate these front ones on the Y. So as you can see, using a mirror is highly effective, especially in your workflow. So guys, this will do for this lesson. We have a beautiful, lovely gazebo, just using normal 3D mesh to build this together. I will upload this into my Discord. This is a free asset for you to come download and do with whatever you want. I'm going to leave it like this and come visit. I do lessons every Monday in Blender in my Discord between 4 and 5 p.m. UTC, or that is between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come visit. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a message, and I will see you. I'll see you later. Thank you for joining. Like and subscribe.